Hi. Today is the second video of our MBA Basics series. I'll link the first one if you've not gone through that, so you can go through that after this video as well. But today we are discussing what is it that you need to do to get through a top B school like an IIM. So let's jump right into it. Now in India, you will typically have a two-step selection process for IIMs and most other B schools. The first is going to be your aptitude exam. Your aptitude exam is nothing but your CAT, XAT, or any other national or state level exam or institute specific exam that you are looking to take. The reason for this is a whole lot of people want to get into the top B school, but it will be very difficult to interview each and every student. So this is more like an initial screening process. If you look at CAT, for example, around 2.2 lakh people took CAT 2022, and it would have not been possible for the faculty in each IIM and all of the other B schools like SPJN, FMS, MDI, IITs, and so on to interview them. It would have probably taken the entire year. So what they do instead is they make us take the CAT exam, and then based on that and a few other factors, they'll basically shortlist us for the stage 2 selection. Now, the stage 2 selection will usually start with something like a written ability test. Sometimes it's called an analytical writing test or some other name. Essentially, it will be like an essay, but rather than looking at your writing skills or your grammar or your vocabulary, they'll basically be looking a little bit more at your logical reasoning and your factual skills. Either along with the VAT or instead of the VAT, you could also have a group exercise, a group discussion, or similar other steps. But what you'll definitely have is your personal interview, and that's really important. So if you're looking to become an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer, for example, our aptitude, our knowledge, memory, and application become very important. So I'm a computer science engineer, for example, before I did my MBA from IIM Lucknow. So there I needed to know code, I needed to be able to solve problems. Whether I was good at dealing with people or not was not the most important. It's the same for doctors, lawyers, and so on, right? But when it comes to managers, you'll be working in teams, you'll be leading teams, you'll be convincing other people, whether it's people in your company, your investors, your clients, to do what you want. So your people skills, your leadership and team spirit, all of these become really important. And that's one of the important things which are tested in the personal interview. Now, typically your selection weightage is pretty high for your interview after your aptitude exam. But let's get a little bit more into the aptitude exam and understand about it. Now, when it comes to the aptitude exam, the most important exam would be the CAT. It's conducted by the IIMs, usually by any one of the top 6 IIMs. This year, it's expected to be conducted by IIM Lucknow. Last year, it was conducted by IIM Bangalore. And your CAT score is what is considered by all of the IIMs, the IITs, as well as a bunch of other B schools like FMS Delhi, SPJN, MDI Gurgaon, NITI, and so on. The next most important exam would be the XAT exam, which is conducted by XLRI, or what's now known as the Xavier School of Management. This is again something which I would say would rank in the top 5 or top 6 B schools easily. And it's also important because a bunch of other B schools will consider your XAT score. Many of them, like IMT, will actually consider the best of your CAT or your XAT score. So that way it also works a little bit as one of the backups. Along with this, you should also consider SNAP, which is for the 16 symbiosis institutes that you have, the main ones being SIBM Pune, SCM HRD Pune. You also have your NMAT, which is for your Narsi Monji institutes, the main one being in Mumbai, as well as other B schools like KJ Somaya, IFMR, SDA Bokoni, and so on. And IFT for Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, primary institute being in Delhi, but they also have campuses in Calcutta and in Kakinada. Now, there's a bunch of other institutes which look at these exams and other exams as well. If you want to know more, just come on to mockat.com, click on Infozone, and then click on the top B schools. So here you'll get what we consider are the best of the best. You'll get to know what is the average salary, what are the exams that they look at, and so on. You can also click and go on to the institute website itself to do a little more research if you're interested. But for now, let's understand a little bit more about the stage 1 or the initial shortlisting process and what is it that these institutes consider alongside these aptitude exams. So typically they're of course looking at your exam score or your percentile. But along with it, they could also look at a few other factors such as your ECADs, that is your 10th, 12th scores and your college scores, your diversity factor, which could include points for academic diversity, gender diversity, or both. And most institutes also consider work experience. Now, none of these are compulsory. The only thing which is mandatory for taking CAT is 50% in your college score, and one or two institutes will up it to 60%. The others will all add points to what's called your composite score. But even in this, usually the highest weightage is for your CAT or your other exam. So if you look at IIM Ahmedabad, for example, they have a 65% weightage for your CAT score. And institutes like the Symbiosis and Narsi Monji institutes will only look at your SNAP percentile or your NMAT scores to shortlist. In an upcoming video, we'll also look at how important these factors are and what you can do if you're scoring low in one of them. Maybe you're a fresher, or maybe your ECAT scores are not very high. But for now, just remember that the highest weightage is actually given for your aptitude exam by most of the top institutes. And that's the one that's really under your control. And that is where, even if you have a great profile, you should be putting the most efforts towards. Now, these exams are typically held around November to Jan. And after the exams are done, your scorecards will come out and you'll start getting your shortlist for the colleges. And once that is done, you go for your next step. Now, in your next step, for IIMs, you will have your written ability test, which is your VAT. Some institutes like IIM Ahmedabad calls it the analytical writing test. In XAT, you have the essay, which is actually part of the XAT exam itself. So you don't have anything when you go off for the interview. Most institutes have now switched from a group discussion to a written ability test. But the Symbiosis institutes still conduct what's called a group exercise. And NMIMS institutes will also have a separate aptitude exam which is brought in, and so on. But the most important thing in your stage 2 is your personal interview. So in your personal interview, these are the things which usually come up. Your academics, especially if you're a fresher or you've recently graduated, they're definitely going to ask you some academic questions. Sometimes you get the luxury of them asking you what's your favorite subject. But let's say, again, I'll use my own example. As a computer science engineer, even if I give some random subject as my favorite subject, I can definitely expect to be asked on AI, chat GPT, and so on. You can also expect questions on current affairs. They'll want your take on what's happening, and especially if there's a debate or a fight about something, or something wrong has happened, as well as something which is relevant to what you have studied or the field that you're working in. Another thing which is extremely common is your HR questions, and this will include things like why you want to do MBA, are you a leader or a team player, any challenges that you faced, and so on. Now, we do have a lot of videos on these questions and how to address them to make yourself memorable and more likely to be selected. So you can probably check out those videos as well that Vignesh has shot. You could also expect to get questions about any gaps that you have in your CV or in your profile. Essentially, if there's a weak area that you have or something like that. And if you've been working or you've done internships, you will also get asked questions about that. Now, remember that your most important thing at the moment is to prepare for CAT and the other aptitude exams. But if your CAT prep is going on well and you have time, then you could look to brush up on your ECATs, especially if you've recently graduated or are still studying, as well as current affairs. For current affairs, again, you can go on to Mockat, visit the homepage and just click on the news, and you'll basically get 5 curated news articles. You can start with 1 or 2 articles, especially the ones which are more relevant to you. So as an engineer, this would include, I already gave examples of tech or anything which is happening for mechanical or automobile engineers. It could be related to auto. Similarly, for commerce grads, it would be things around the budget, inflation, things like that, which you need to know. So this is a good place for you to start with. You could also just click on the home page and join our Telegram channel, where again you'll get notified as soon as we post the news. Now, for your final selection, again there's multiple factors which are considered. Usually the highest weightage is given for your personal interview score, but your aptitude exam score or the composite score, which was calculated by the institute, is also considered and generally has a high weightage. And this is exactly why I say that your CAT score or your aptitude exam score is the most important. The institutes could also look at the diversity factor. Some of the institutes will look at gender diversity while shortlisting and academic diversity while selection, or they could just look at both together. And of course, any other processes which were conducted. So your VAT, your group exercise, extempore, all of these scores will be considered. But typically the highest weightage would be either for the interview score in most cases, or sometimes for the exam or the composite score. Now, given this, of course, the most important thing to prep for becomes your aptitude exam score. And in this, the CAT exam becomes most important because if you look at the top 50 B schools, a majority of them will be shortlisting on the basis of your CAT score. And the good thing is, even if you're getting a score of about 25-26%, that will usually be around 85 percentile, which means that if you have a decent profile, you can expect shortlist from colleges with an average starting salary of at least 10 to 15 lakhs as a general candidate. Get a higher score and you get to the better and better institutes. So let's look at what is it that you need to prepare for the CAT exam. I do have a detailed prep strategy video which I've uploaded, and I'll link it here for you if you want to check that out and use it as a reference. Now in CAT, your first section is your VARC section, and looking at the last couple of years, you can expect 24 questions in 40 minutes, the most important of which will be reading comprehension. 2/3 of the VARC section and almost 1/4 of the entire paper is RC questions. And that's why that's the most important to prep for. And you're welcome to join our free Telegram channel where we share daily reading links and the author's viewpoint, which is extremely important for solving the majority of the questions which are inferential or logical in nature. Should you want more help, we also have some of the past RC solved out here on this YouTube channel, or you could definitely look to join our classes as well. Now the next section is DILR, where you'll basically have 4 cases comprising of 20 questions in 40 minutes. You can expect one DI case, and it's important to prep this part: tables, interpretative tables, charts, as well as caselets. In 9 out of the 10 DI cases that we've had in the last few years in CAT, this has been one of the easier ones to solve. So this is definitely something which you need to check. It won't be very calculation intensive or anything. In fact, you'll have a calculator. So it's more of, knowing these, being comfortable, putting in a lot of practice and making sure that you're choosing this. And then we come to LR, where you'll probably have about 3 cases from. And these are all the topics that you need to prepare for. And the most important being numerical reasoning, followed by matching. Once you're done with these 2, you then look to finish ranking, selections, teams and events, and so on. And again, you're more than welcome to use our prep schedule. You'll also have daily quizzes for free on Mockat, where you can test yourself on DILR as well as VARC and Quant. Now coming to Quant, this is where you'll have 22 questions in 40 minutes. The most important topic for you will be arithmetic. You can expect at least around 8 questions from here. And then the second would be algebra, where you'll typically have around 4 questions, though last year that number was almost doubled. The third most important would be geometry. And then you have modern maths, which is your permutation, combination, probability, set theory, and so on, as well as numbers, things like divisibility, factors and remainders, and so on. Now, this is usually the part that students are either a little terrified of because they don't like maths or they're weak in it, or they feel confident because this is something which all of us have studied in school. And particularly arithmetic is something which most of us feel comfortable with as compared to, let's say, calculus or permutations or something like that. But remember that CAT is a lot more conceptual, but CAT is pretty different from our board exams. There's no step marking, no long answers, and more importantly, it is a lot more conceptual and logical. You need to quickly choose the right questions. You're not looking to finish the paper, and you need to solve them quickly. Make sure you don't make silly mistakes and move on. So if you've done some prep on CAT, one thing you could come to and check out are our concept revision videos. So just come out here and you'll have these videos available for free. These will not be sufficient if you've not prepared at all. But if you have prepared, these are good to test yourself and make sure that you know all the concepts. We also have concept builder tests as well as daily quizzes, which you can take advantage of. So go ahead, put in all your effort in prep and make sure that you're practicing a lot of questions. Now, the main things to take from this video are the aptitude exam, particularly your CAT exam, is the most important. Along with this, look to take other exams as well. We will be covering these other exams in more detail in an upcoming video, but suffice it to say that all of these exams that I mentioned here can get you into the top 20 B schools, and just signing up for multiple exams will make you less stressed during the CAT exam, something that's really important to do well in CAT. and make sure that you are focusing more on logical reasoning, concepts in quant, understanding the author's viewpoint in verbal, and along with that, prioritize taking mocks and analyzing them to get your test taking strategy right. All the best.